I thank Dr. Tanuj Dada and the All India Ophthalmic Society for the opportunity to participate in this very interesting symposium on OCT and its use in glaucoma. And my topic has been a little different from the rest of the talks in the symposium. Will be different. And I've been given an interesting topic of taking care and how to maintain the OCT machine with regards to the particular relevance to practitioners and of course with relevance to the OCT machine in glaucoma diagnosis and management. I'm Dr. Murali Ariga from the Chennai Glaucoma Foundation. These suggestions which I am going to make today are from personal experience and of course with some inputs from service engineers and the manuals of the machines which we use. And this is obviously not a substitute for any professional advice from biomedical engineers. So make sure that any further professional advice, whichever institution you work in or practice you are in, take professional advice from a biomedical engineer. And of course, I have no financial interest in any of the devices or products which I'm going to talk about. The OCT machines, as we all know, are very expensive devices, and they definitely need special care for longevity, and we wanted them to keep them going for quite some time, for at least 5 to 10 years or longer. You need to take care of the equipment, and it's not just enough to buy a 30 lakh or a 50 lakh machine and then hope that it will work forever without really bothering to take care. It's something like the device, like your car or any other expensive gadget which we all use. We need to take care of it. We need to understand the basics of how to use it. They are all very delicate instruments. We need to take adequate care. The first and foremost, you have to understand about the OCT machine, as you can see in the picture on the screen, is that you have to place the machine in a dust-free, in a very quiet room, and at least 1 meter away from other medical equipment and other devices and gadgets. So there is no electrical disturbance from other machines and people are not touched, and there is no electrical disturbance from other connections. And also you'll notice that this picture on the left shows you that there are wheels on this machine, and the machine has to be kept away from the ground. It has to be dust-free environment, it has to be in a cool place, quiet place, and at least a meter away from other equipment. Make sure there's no other disturbance. And this is the first and foremost. First you locate a room and place where the equipment can be installed. Certain other points have to be kept in mind with regards to the installation of the machine as well as the maintenance of the machine. So we have to keep in mind that the power cables and connections are important. We need to have what is called as the uninterrupted power supply, UPS as it's popularly called. You also need to keep in mind that the machines run at a particular temperature and humidity, and dust is a very big enemy for any of our equipment. The air conditioning which we use has to be optimal, and we need to have adequate filters to take out the dust, the other contaminants which come into the atmosphere in the room, and those kind of filters are definitely advisable. We also need to keep in mind the patient's safety and comfort, particularly the smudges and fingerprints which the patient may involuntarily leave on the machine. And also the patient should not get any electrical shock from the devices which he is sitting and touching, he or she is sitting and touching. We also have to know a little bit more about the computer system which is attached to the OCT device, the hardware, the printers that go with it, the LAN connectivity, the software which the company has installed, which is proprietary, and whether to use an antivirus or not, and whether we have networking for the machine which we are type of brand and machine which we are using. You need to see if you can network it with your hospital EMR and so on. And keep the manual of the machine in a handy place where you can look up and see if you can troubleshoot and look at errors and look at whatever you need to understand. It is always good to have annual maintenance contract or a comprehensive maintenance contract, depending on your hospital policy for ANC or CMC. This will reduce the downtime. Suppose you have only one machine at your center, then the downtime will be less if you have a spare machine. And also if your CMC, AMC is in place, you will find that the engineers come in and do the corrections and errors corrections. So you don't have to disturb your flow of management of patients when your machine is down. Ideally, a downtime for a machine when you have one machine should not be more than say 24 to 48 hours at the most, given the weekend and holidays and other things, other factors. Lastly, I'm going to talk very briefly about the return on your investment. So we have put in a very expensive piece of equipment in your practice, and it's pretty expensive. So we need to know, does it justify the amount you have spent? Does it justify the patient's cost which you're going to get back from the patient? Is it really worthwhile installing the equipment in your practice and so on? Which is something which you need to do some kind of think back and see whether it fits into your practice. And this is what we call as ROI, return on investment. First and foremost, let us talk about the power supply. The uninterrupted power supply, UPS as it is called, there are so many types of UPS available. For those of you who are not aware, there's a very simple table on the right which I have shown on the slide. We have something called offline, we have online, and we have line interactive. So what we would prefer for machines like the OCT is the online UPS, because there is no switching time. It continues smoothly even if there's a power interruption or a power disruption. The reliability and the protection from spikes and surges, electrical noise, and complete power failure is very good. Of course, it's a little more expensive, and the overall efficiency may be a little less because the inverter is always on. But the online is definitely preferred. We also prefer to have the batteries kept externally and separately, like in the picture on the left. The UPS machine has to be separate. Don't put a box with everything into it and cover it up. It's always better to have a battery which can be serviced, and depending on the machine and the capacity of the voltage required, the power supply required for that particular UPS in your hospital setup, you can decide whether you want 1 kVA, 2 kVA, 5 kVA, depending on the UPS capacity, and the batteries also would go depending on the duration for which you want it to run, and there's a power interruption and so on. So discuss with your people who supply the UPS regarding the capacity of the machine, the UPS, how long you want it to last, and the battery capacity. Always give at least sufficient buffer. So let us say you can keep at least 80% of the time. You could probably keep it for an hour of backup and so on for any of your devices. The offline is okay for systems like the computer, desktops, and so on, but it is not highly efficient, and if you can switch off, and the sag and the limited spike protection is not a good option for OCT machines. So go for the online UPS as far as possible. Then you must also understand, when you see sometimes a clutter like this, you will find extension cable like this, you'll find multiple devices connected to one. And this is definitely not acceptable for an OCT machine. Make sure the OCT machine is connected as a single standalone connection to a plug and an UPS device, which does not involve this kind of a power cable clutter, and no extension cord should be used. Also, in your power line, you should talk to your maintenance people, electrical people, and make sure that you have what is called as the surge suppression or surge arrestor, like the picture I've shown you on the right. The surge arrestor is definitely advisable for you to arrest the surge, because these kind of surges definitely affect the machine's longevity. So do not clutter with multiple cables, and prefer a surge suppressor device. And you can see the machine which I am using is standalone like this. It's got the wheels, and it's got it's away from the ground. You have a dust cover. At the same time, you have a ventilation hole for the system which is being kept there. And you will notice that the single connection with the even though there are multiple plugs, this one goes into a single point and nothing else. Even a peripheral is not attached to this. I will explain to you why the peripherals cause problems. And you'll also notice that the plug is actually going into the plug outlet with another device here, what we call as the small kind of a multi-plug with a surge protector. You can also, for those of you who don't have surge protected lines or surge protected power supply, this kind of simple, handy, small devices which can be used for any appliance like even a TV or a computer, you can use the surge suppression simple devices, but this will be adequate only for one device. You can use a surge suppressor of this kind of a surge arrestor device also. Dust protection is extremely important. You must cover up the equipment when not in use, and use a dust cover for all your instruments, particularly the OCT and so on. And it is also good in your room air to have a HEPA kind of a filter which protects you from dust, smoke, pollutants, aerosols, whatever you put into the room, as well as, of course, takes out the so-called antibacterial, antiviral kind of HEPA filter. It is good to have a HEPA filter and keep it sort of in and around the area. It's the HEPA filter, the room filter should be adequate for the room size. So depending on your room size, you can decide how much of area it covers, 100 square feet, 200 square feet, depending on it, you can decide what kind of an air filter you need. These are all ideal, but not absolutely mandatory, but dust cover is mandatory. And if you're having a split AC or an air conditioning system in your room, which obviously will be there, you have to make sure that the filters are cleaned periodically and maintain a log of the filter cleaning. This is what we would forget. Most often we will find that the filters of the HEPA filter, the room air filter, as well as the AC filter has not been cleaned for months together. Have a log and decide you want to clean it every 3 months, every 6 months, every one month, depending on the area and the dust which is there in your area. You can decide the log of filter cleaning. So this is extremely important for you to understand that the dust is a big enemy for any medical equipment, particularly the OCT. The instrument manufacturer will generally specify that the humidity can be say around 40 to 60% or 30 to 70%. Humidity should be around 40 to 50% or not more, not be very humid. It should be a non-condensing kind of filter which can give you this kind of humidity. And temperature also should be around say between 20 and 30. The room temperature should not be very hot. It's always good to have some kind of indicator like this, which tells you what is the room temperature, what is the humidity. All these simple devices are available in Amazon. You can easily get it and install one in your practice place where the OCT is installed. This is about the room environment, about the dust and dust environment. And any practitioner who has got his own machine and who's got his own biomedical engineering department will know the value of these kind of simple devices. Having an insulated tester, screwdriver, which sort of makes it easy to do small repairs and small corrections, checking for the power and so on. And if you're a little more proficient, you can get yourself a multimeter like this, and you can actually understand the various very simple device. And all of these are available in Amazon. You can get this device and for you to check whether the earthing is faulty, whether the neutral is faulty, whether the line and the neutral, the live and the neutral are reversed, where the live is faulty and so on. These kind of line fault detectors are available. Make sure this is done periodically, and especially the earthing is very important. Check it once in a month, once in a few months. Have somebody to check this. Earthing is really vital. If you have something which is not earthed properly, even though you have installed earth many years ago, make sure the earthing is checked at least once in a year for the room and the area which you are working on. You should not have a patient keeping thin rest on the machine and touching some metallic part and being thrown back by a mild power, which may be getting a electrical shock and so on. So earthing is really important, and you must make sure it is checked before the patient is tested on the machine. And we all sometimes have the habit of keeping things like this in and around our work areas. Make sure your optometrist or your pediatrist or your technician or even yourself should not walk around with a sandwich in hand or some food in hand and some kind of liquid or beverage, and don't spill it in and around the machine. We need to follow a strict discipline of not using food and beverage in the area around the OCT machine. Once OCT has been installed, we need to take care of the machine. It's not just enough to put a dust cover and leave it. We need to use these kind of devices, clean these devices with a lint-free cloth. This cloth, as you notice, is lint-free. It does not give you fibers, and it's ideal to wear this kind of a nitrile kind of a glove or even a latex glove. So this whatever alcohol or anything else you're using to clean and wipe, make sure it doesn't affect your skin or the person who is doing it. So preferably wear a glove, preferably use a lint-free cloth, and clean from dust and clean. The dust is a big enemy for most of these instruments. There are so many methods of cleaning agents which are available. This is from the manual from the Zeiss OCT itself as to what are the cleaning agents which you can use. So it is preferred to use a latex finger part or a glove, as solvents can be harsh to your skin. So wear some kind of a goggle or a protection when you're cleaning. And the cleaning should be done ideally with a lint-free lens tissue. You can use cotton swabs, wooden handles, or polyester swabs with polypropylene handles. If you're going to use a blower to clean the dust, use filtered dry nitrogen blown through an antistatic nozzle. Or if you have a canned duster, that's fine. But avoid the blow type dusters because it's very difficult to clean the inside of the blow type dusters. Use canned dusters or filtered dry nitrogen blown through an antistatic nozzle. And the brushes which you use for wiping and cleaning should be kept clean. You can use a mild soap, but it should be neutral and avoid perfumed, alkali or colored soap. You can use in certain areas of the machine, you can use isopropyl alcohol. The spectroscopic grade and evaporates more slowly than the acetone, which some people advocate. We don't use acetone in our practice, we use isopropyl alcohol for certain areas. The entire machine, if you keep repeatedly wiping with isopropyl alcohol, the paint and the color will change. So don't overdo the cleaning process also. Certain areas which are simply just mild dust, you can use only a cloth or a lint-free tissue. But certain areas where you find grime and contamination, patient touch areas, you can use isopropyl alcohol. I think most of us who deal with cameras, mobile phones, will all know the value of this kind of a 9-in-1 professional cleaning kit used for any lenses. You have this very nice brush, and you also have this lens wipe. You also have a solution and this blower. You have a lens tissue, and you have these special type of buds and the wipes. And the cleaning, you have what is called as brush cleaning and wipe cleaning. The brush cleaning, of course, you use a gentle brush to brush away the dust. In areas where you feel the dust is, you cannot reach it in the inter areas, in the keyboard area, and so on. For lenses like this, you can actually go in concentric circles or a circle of 8 kind of a cleaning, in which you don't leave smudges, and prefer not to use anything other than maybe just a drop or two of sterile distilled water and so on. Don't use alcohol on the lens. This is brush cleaning and wipe cleaning, and this kit is actually again available, easily available, and you can keep one handy for you to handle all of these. I'm going to talk a bit about the peripherals, the printers, and the motorized cable which is actually connected to these machines. Do not connect the printer and the motorized cable to the same UPS line. I already mentioned that the machine should be connected to a standalone plug in the UPS line. Do not connect the motorized cable. This is the motorized cable, as you can see here. This is separate for the machine. And also, we have actually stopped using printers because we connected to the LAN and the networking, and we actually emailed the report. We put it on a CD. We stopped using printers. But if you have a printer, make sure the printer is connected and kept to a separate main direct line to the power supply, which is connected to a genset or something like that, not to the UPS line. Same UPS line having the OCT as well as the printer interrupts and disturbs both. So, and it can actually be an electrical hazard. Even the manual of the manufacturer would clearly specify about this kind of printer connection. Also, the motorized cable which you have should be moving smoothly. Have a good quality motorized cable. Don't use the local manufactured motorized cables. And always position the patient well before switching on the OCT and to capture the scan. Don't place the patient on the machine, keep the OCT on, and then start jerking and moving the table. What will happen is there are very delicate lenses and parts inside the machine. So all of this will get disturbed. The position can get disturbed if you jerk the table up and down after you started to position the patient. The simple thing is to position the patient well before starting the OCT to capture the scan. Don't do a capture and then start moving the table up and down. So very simple thing, but people have had trouble with this kind of thing. The lenses are moved out of place, which cannot be repaired by local manufacturers. It will take several months for the company to replace the lenses and repair these lenses. The machine which has the computer which is linked to the OCT has a proprietary software. So the machine also, what it does is the image capture. There's a lot of analysis done by the OCT machine for multiple images which it captures. So therefore, putting an antivirus software into the OCT system is not advisable. Don't install any antivirus in the system used for the OCT. And the computer used for the OCT machine should be a dedicated computer. Do not use it for other work and printing and typing letters, and do not use it for anything else. Do not install an antivirus in the OCT's computer system because it slows down the entire analysis of the OCT machine. But you can connect it to network, local area network, LAN kind of networking, and make sure the antivirus is there in the other systems which are linked to the LAN and the server which you are using, that they should have an antivirus, and the antivirus should be constantly updated so nothing comes into the system from the other network system. So no, don't install antivirus in the OCT machine system and have a dedicated computer for this. You can have a LAN connectivity, but make sure that the printout, the output which you're giving can be given in the form of a CD or can be given in the form of maybe sent by email from the other systems and so on. Don't put pen drives and don't put this small external pen drives and keep removing and taking it off. That is a good way of introducing the virus into the system. So this is some small precautions which you can take. With regards to your entire hospital software, the LAN which you have, the networking and the servers which you have, I'm sure you will be aware that all types of malware is possible. Many large hospitals have experienced this problem of suddenly their electronic health records crashing and so on. Make sure adequate backup is there and make sure that you have a good biomedical engineer and you have a good IT team which can take care of antivirus and malware and hackers which can come into your system and remove your patient data and cause trouble to your hospital medical records. So this is very important. This actually does not apply strictly to the OCT machines. It's going to be a standalone machine. It does not have an antivirus. It's only going to be using only for OCT device capture and so on. Don't use it for anything else. But the network which you have connected this OCT machine to can be subject to all of these kind of malware and this kind of ransomware and trojans and those kind of viruses. So you should understand a bit of this and be aware that this should be updated in your server and other systems. Keep the OCT manual, as I already mentioned in the beginning. Keep the OCT manual and the service engineer's contact details handy. Maybe put a sticker near your machine and have your name and number of the service engineer. So you can talk to them regarding troubleshooting. Keep the manual ready so you know how to troubleshoot and look at the various aspects of error messages that is coming. I already mentioned about the annual maintenance contract and the CMC, which is definitely useful, but not 100% mandatory because the AMCs and CMCs are quite expensive and these machines are quite sturdy if maintained well and kept well. So an AMC CMC is an option and it definitely is advisable, but not 100% mandatory. So they're quite expensive to have a CMC. And then my last part of the talk today is on the return on your investment. You have invested a considerable amount of capital and you need to have a significant amount of volume of practice for you to decide, is there a gain from the so-called investment? Is there a return? What is the interest on the so-called capital or loan or EMI which you may have taken for the instrument? And what is the cost of the instrument? Always calculate this and make sure that you don't burn your fingers and don't put yourself in a financial difficulty because of these issues of having the pride of having your own OCT and doing 1 or 2 OCTs per day. And you will find the 6th year or 8th year the machine update is necessary and you'll find that you've not made enough return on your investment. So the suggestion for that, at least what we do in our practices in Chennai, I do own my own machine, but I'm also part of a group practice like this. This is called as the group practice in which we have multiple gadgets kept in one place and always team with your colleagues and have a common kind of a facility in which you can actually multiple users. For example, this particular center in Chennai has about 25 to 30 users or even more. It's growing now, multiple branches and all that. So we find that this group practice of sharing common facilities and also getting into a group which reduces the financial stress. Besides that, since my talk today is about maintenance and care, you will find that in a group practice, you will find the care and maintenance is taken care of by the person who runs the center, by the group that runs the center. So your stress and headache of having to maintain the instrument is actually less. You have the dual advantage of the financial advantage as well as the stress of not having to maintain expensive equipment and anxiously looking forward to getting a revenue and trying to overuse the machine and doing unnecessary tests and so on. My sincere thanks once again to Professor Tanuj Dada and the All India Ophthalmic Society and of course the CIPLA team for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and share my few points on how to take care of your unmet. Thank you.